Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
and we are back again today to talk DC FanDome. But before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that notification bell. That way you're updated on all future episodes of Podcast 2 for 1, as well as all the cool content we have at 2 for 1 Studios. Again, check us out at youtube.com/2 for 1 Studios. And if you didn't know, we are brought to you by Kapow Comics, located at 4047 East Hill Avenue in Sherwood, Arkansas. There they have comic books, collectibles, graphic novels, and of course, special guest appearances throughout the year. Anyway, Kapow. Daniel, we're talking DC FanDome, and as you recall, last year was their first ever DC FanDome 2020, and we also covered it on the channel then. And
excuse you, sorry, it's FanDome.
That's what
DC
I was saying.
FanDome.
Dome.
You gotta really pronounce.
That's what I was saying.
You said FanDome. It's FanDome.
Oh,
DC FanDome.
maybe I'm just slurring my words a little bit. I was trying to say dome. I'm sorry.
I just want our audiences to be aware it's not a fandom. It's a FanDome, like a dome of fans.
Yeah.
In a dome.
Right.
Shape.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting. I would assume that eventually they'll go to like a live gathering, maybe at some point.
Like Comic-Con. Yeah.
Yeah, but it seems like they're because what if they get a place that's not like a dome? Like I had to find a place that's like a dome, right?
Yeah, I mean, like there's lots of domes though. I mean, I feel like California's got to have a few domes,
there is.
You know?
Sure, that's something I know. But what if, like, they didn't? They'd be kind of screwed.
Yeah, sure. What if there's an alternate universe where there was no domes in California?
Yep. What if?
Yikes.
Anyway, they, this first inaugural year last year, we broke down some trailers, some big reveals. And really, this year is just more footage of the same videos we had last year.
Yeah, because like all the like the dates that were like a year out or so from last year are the same amount out this year. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's like a rerun. It's like deja vu.
It's like a rerun.
Yeah.
But we have some pretty good reveals, and I'm pretty excited overall about what was shown, and it just kind of gave us more hype to kind of go on, and we can kind of start going through some of these. And if you didn't watch all these, Daniel, we can just kind of breeze past some of them.
I know I watched the most important ones.
Okay. And mainly we'll just focus on the movies and the two games.
Sure.
I don't really care so much about the TV stuff, just because that's a lot. I'm not even caught up currently on all the TV stuff.
Was it like
so it's
WB TV stuff?
It ranged from HBO Max stuff like Harley Quinn to like the Aquaman cartoon to Doom Patrol to like the CW stuff like the Flash, Batwoman, and then even some anniversary stuff like Smallville. And a lot of stuff like that.
I did watch the Peacemaker trailer though too for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
that's
like the only TV thing I watched. It was surprising,
right.
And we can get into it in a bit, but yeah.
Yeah. Let's start with what opened the actual show, which was, of course, either they got to start with a bang or end with a bang. And it's always this weird thing because every time they have like a promo of it, it's like you have The Rock, and then the last thing they always show is Robert Pattinson saying something, and you have to wonder, like, I wonder if that bothers The Rock a little bit because he's the ultimate hype man, and Robert Pattinson's not very much a guy in the spotlight, but he is Batman now, and Batman is infinitely.
I mean, he's like an A-list
character.
He's an A-lister.
Come on, Robert Pattinson or who?
Yeah. I would say he's an A-list actor.
Sure, but he's not as big as loved as The Rock in terms of like people.
Yeah, but they're
not saying
action
acting
movie
ability.
Star versus multimedia mogul, The Rock.
That's my point. That's my whole point of the whole thing is that he's The Rock, and Robert Pattinson has still does get flack every now and then in terms of he can't pull it off, that kind of stuff, and we all know people who have watched his other roles that he probably has a pretty good shot at it. But point was they decided to open with The Rock, kind of to probably ease his ego a little bit. So if you can't end the show, you can at least open the show.
You mean stroke his ego? That's what you're
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
And stroke ease. But we got our first official look, footage wise, and even we've never really had like an official screenshot of the movie. We've had like behind the scenes shots, but we finally got to see Black Adam on the screen here, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it had some great, it looked nice, it looked good. It felt like it fit into the Shazam kind of aesthetic that first movie set up, but darker. And it felt like he was a badass, like he was kind of a mean guy.
No, okay, this is the one I missed it. Okay, so I missed one important one. But no, that sounds, it sounds interesting. I really liked Shazam, and I think, anything that's kind of building on that side of the DC universe, which I think definitely feel like, to me, Shazam is the best movie that the DC universe has had, just in terms of standing on its own and kind of feeling consistent throughout. Not that there hasn't been other good movies, but just movies where you're like, wow, that's the beginning of something that has like a clear vision and it's kind of nailing everything it wants to be. I think for all their decision making and I guess the jury's still out on, I guess, the outcome of some of the decisions, like with the Flash movie coming up and stuff like that. But it seems they're at least investing where they have had some success, or there's some people fighting the good fight in the suits at DC EU, trying to make their movies good, or invest in the good ideas. So hopefully that continues.
Right. No, I mean, and just real quick, all it was somebody summoning him in modern day times at like his apparent tomb, I guess. So I'm not sure how he gets there. And he comes up and he ends up killing a soldier with his bare hands and kind of just floats off into the sky, which is, it's really dark and gritty. But what was also cool is they kind of had some behind the scenes stuff of like the cast and crew working. And the thing that got me most excited was Pierce Brosnan holding the Dr. Fate helmet. And that was even when that was announced, I was like, oh man, that's going to be awesome. And the look of Hawkeye and all these other things, or it's not Hawkeye, Hawkman, and different universes here. Yeah. And it was just really exciting. And I'm looking forward to it. And, The Rock again poked at Superman / Henry Cavill saying, hey, I can whip your ass basically. And I want it to happen. And so you got to wonder if The Rock is like demanding that to happen, if we'll ever get that, Well,
yeah, and you consider, I know it wasn't really in it, but the I guess, was it Stinger on Shazam too, was a half Superman cameo kind of thing. So yeah, I feel like, this is all contingent on if Henry Cavill still in the DCEU, which recent rumbling seems to maybe be, he may not be in the Superman that we continue with. Maybe he'll show up again someday in some sort of, Flashpoint 2 situation. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised, I guess is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I will have like one more little piece of information on a later movie that might help us a little bit there, but I'm not sure if it's speculation more than anything. Anyway, it's cool, but we can kind of lead in from there to Shazam: Fury of the Gods. It had more of a featurette kind of thing. I'm not sure you watched it or not, Daniel.
It was another like kind of behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, they had a few.
Yeah, I really don't like those. Every time I see them, I'm like, okay, never mind. Like I just I don't know what it is. I guess like I'm just there for the movie itself. I don't really want to see hints. I don't want to see like what I'm going to see in the trailer in like a BTS POV.
Sure.
Like almost seeing it like without the magic glasses on of movies, kind of, you know what I mean? And like, because sometimes like costumes look really dumb like there, and then you like see it in the movie, it looks amazing or something like that. I'm just like, I want to watch the BTS after I've seen the movie. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. That's just me.
No, it's totally valid, and I'm not going to spend there's two of these that happen like this. I'm not going to spend too much time on either one of them. Ultimately, just to say that we are getting Shazam 2 in 2023, which is a long time away. Even though they've already wrapped. I'll say this: DC. Here's one difference between DC and Marvel, is that the Flash just wrapped also like yesterday, day before yesterday, and like they literally had like 3 more days left or 2 more days after DC FanDome, and they literally put their movies out like a year to a year and a half after they wrap. Like they spend, like I'm pretty sure they get the movie done, but they sit on it for like 6 to 8 months, and they've done this with like all their movies for the most part. The Marvel, they work on their movies until the last goddamn day, and that's because they're obviously have a lot more in production, and they're also just, I'm not saying they're perfectionists. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that they definitely trying to eke out as much time as they possibly can, especially for visual effects, that kind of stuff. But DC seems like they really take their time, good or bad, and they have the capacity to make much more, which I wonder why they don't. If they have year gaps in between like production, or not 2 year gaps between production and like filming or like release, then it's like you could make a whole other movie in there. But it seems like I don't know what their deal is. You feel like they want to.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess like one of my things, I guess, I don't know, maybe their actors aren't as available as often as Marvel, or like they don't have as like binding of contracts when they sign onto a character. Because like when you sign onto the MCU, it's like, all right, like the next 5 to 10 years are ours. You know what I mean? Like you'll be lucky to like have time, especially if you're a core character. It's like you'll be lucky to have time to do anything else, or maybe 1 or 2 other projects, But like, I don't know. I guess maybe that could be part of it. I guess. But that's interesting.
It is. Real quick, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. David Sandberg is back directing. We have the family, of course, back as the Shazam family, which I hope is obviously going to tee up again to a Black Adam clash, which I think it's obviously going to happen. Yeah. We have 2 villains this time instead of 1. We have Lucy Liu and we have Helen Mirren, and so 2 female bad guys or bad women. And obviously they're going more bigger in scope in terms of locations and like, that kind of stuff. It's a sequel. They got to go bigger, right? It looks fun. I'm always said that we're going to get it 2 years from now instead of 1 year, but it makes sense if Black Adam's next year, then we might have a small gap there with the Shazam family. Next one on my list, which I doubt you watched this one either, is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
No, I would not deem that an important one. Honestly, my review of the first Aquaman was, what the fuck is going on in this movie? Yeah. Oh man, it was just the most like it was swashbuckling in all the wrong ways.
Sure. No, it's valid. I tell people all the time that movie's a mess, but the last 30 minutes is fucking awesome.
Some people love it. Like I think it's like the most like fun adventure movie they've seen since I don't know, National Treasure. So
well, it is fair to say, because it's accurate, that it is still the highest grossing DC movie of all time, even more so than The Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises.
Criminal.
And all
but inflation. Okay, surely inflation will save us.
But what was cool about this, the only thing I saw that was really cool that was deemed newsworthy, it seems like the movie Black Manta is like the main bad guy this time instead of a secondary villain. And it seems like it's going to be a buddy cop between Aquaman and Orm, which is his brother from the first one.
Okay.
So like they're like working together to take on Black Manta. Yeah, which I'm actually okay with because I think I mentioned this to you beforehand, but from what I understand, James Wan originally wanted Patrick Wilson, who plays Orm, to be Aquaman. And I remember watching it with Matt, this behind the scenes thing. And Matt was like, I can't get out of my head. Like, Patrick Wilson's the perfect Aquaman. And it's weird seeing him next to Jason Momoa,
Yeah, like perfect in terms of like comic lore, like blonde hair, blue eye kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's also a much better actor. So, so it looks like James Wan is still sneaking him in there in some capacity. So that comes out December of next year. So we got a little over a year for that one. Let's kind of get into a few games real quick before we get to some of the bigger movies. Let's real quick talk Gotham Knights. All they really had was a featurette on this one. They didn't really, unfortunately, have gameplay, which I was kind of disappointed about. I know they've had like some gameplay last year, and they've even had some longer like gameplay demos between then and now. And they kind of elaborated more on the Court of Owls this time, and just kind of the art direction and that kind of stuff. And it comes out next year, which I think is great because we get two, DC games next year. And
what's the
I'm
other
excited.
one?
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, at least one of those is getting delayed, if not both. I feel like that's
I'd be
just
surprised.
inevitable.
Well, Suicide Squad is made by Rocksteady, and they made the original Arkham trilogy, and the last game they made was Arkham Knight, and that came out probably 2015, 16.
It's been a while, yeah.
So like they've had a good time to be working on something else.
But who knows if they've been working on this project that whole time? It's a long time to be working on one project. I just think, when's the last AAA video game that hasn't been delayed by like at least a couple weeks, if not months, or into the next usually into the next like quarter?
Yeah, but I think this one might be a little different because they announced it last year during the height of the pandemic, knowing, hey, we need to really be careful about our dates. No, it totally could, but I have a feeling this one will come out next fall.
Yeah, maybe so. No, yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this one. Like, I think I am like slightly. There's just a few things that have seen in it that feel like a little bit that remind me almost of like Avengers, with like the multiplayer emphasized like kind of aspects of it. That I'm like, man, I really hope it doesn't feel like, and Avengers actually does have like a fun single player mode, but like outside of that, it feels like, it's like PvE, what feels like multiplayer things that you can play solo, and there's this feeling of like, it feels grindy. It feels like, things are just stretched out in like this kind of MMO type nature that just feels, I just really dislike. And I hope that doesn't have that isn't in this game. I hope this, that this feels like, a mainline Arkham game, single player, awesome bosses, great, lore and Easter eggs and like mini bosses. And I want it to feel like a great Arkham game that can be played multiplayer, but that is still just, a single player accessible experience. You don't feel like you're like, you're experiencing things that are meant for more people, but you're just doing them by yourself.
Right. I could be wrong on this, but I believe last time I talked about this, you can switch between characters like while you're playing. So like,
yes. Like in the combat and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
No, and that'll be, and I guess too, it's like, I'm definitely a person that likes to mainline a character. So I do hope that like it feels manageable as like, oh, like if I find my favorite character and level him up or whatever that looks like and get my favorite costume skin on or whatever, that it feels viable to, play as a single player. But yeah, I mean, like, especially because I'm really interested in the Court of Owls. Like, I think that's a storyline that's very interesting to me, like in comic lore. And so like, I'm definitely narratively interested, and I, hope it's, at least up to, I would like, leave up to like Arkham City standards, at least narratively. Be great.
Yeah. I mean, see, that's where I'm a little different. To me, the Court of Owls is one of, if not the best Batman story of all time, but the key word there is Batman story. And having the Court of Owls deal with these other characters, that's fine. But like, to me, what was cool about it was it really fit a good contrast against Batman and Bruce Wayne himself, because it was about a character not knowing his own city and like how sure Batman is of himself as a detective, all these other kind of things, and how it kind of starts crumbling around him. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but again, I would be hard pressed to think that Batman's actually dead. I think it's like probably like a credit sequence. I doubt they'll bring him in to kind of not overshadow the others, but I could see some DLC being released where you play as Batman.
Or if you play as him in the end game, almost like if, end of Red Dead Redemption, you play as John's son Jack, and then you can like basically roam the open world as Jack.
Sure.
There's not many missions or anything, but like it's like just like do the final like quest or whatever as Jack. I mean that would be cool if it's like you think he's dead the whole game and then there's some sort of reveal that everyone will see coming. And then you're like, okay, great, now you're Batman and can just like do Batman shit in this open world that you've already kind of played through as these other people. But
I would love it if that happened. I don't think that they'll bring him in for at the very, very end like story wise, just for the fact that I just know the conversation. Like, we don't want to bring Batman in and take away from these 4 characters we've been working so hard on. Like, in terms of like,
yeah,
taking
but
the
they're not
spotlight.
Batman, and it's it's Batman universe. So
Hey,
I mean, at some point they got to bow to that idea. I hope.
Oh, hey, I understand. Trust me, I'm in that camp. I would love it. Like, I think it'd be great if they did that at the end.
Yeah.
But let's go over to and people who are making this from the guys who made Arkham Origins, which I think used the same engine as City, took place in Christmas time, and it basically told the origin of Batman and the Joker's first encounter.
And that's
And,
kind of considered the worst of the Arkham series for most people.
It is the worst, but it's not that bad. It's got some of the best bosses in the entire series.
Yeah,
and it's not bad. It's just not as good. And it's actually got a good story. It might be a better story than
I still have not finished Night, and I think for me it's just like Night feels like City but worse in so many ways, where it's just like the story isn't as interesting to me. There's really none of the innovations to the combat, or like especially the Batmobile, or that like to me amplify the experience much. It's almost like, well, I almost just rather replay City, because I think that's almost perfect as a Batman. Like feeling like Batman and like a high quality story and an interesting open world, like that to me was, and that takes place at Christmas time too, doesn't it? Or around, or like
it's definitely
in the winter.
snowing.
Yeah,
it's definitely a wintry, snowy area. I think you're right. I think City is the overall best game. I think that the story ending, I guess, or like the gameplay ending of Arkham Knight is pretty awesome. It's got a great little finishing there and a good way to wrap up. But then the last 5 minutes, like cutscene, is one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen in a video game.
yeah, it's interesting.
Me.
I've seen the cutscene. Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, and it's also weird because it feels like the end of that. Spoilers. Sorry, Daniel. The end of that, Bruce Wayne is basically his house explodes, and I'm pretty sure in Gotham Knights, his house explodes.
I think they used that same clip or something.
But it's not the same universe. They said this is not the continuation of Arkham Knight.
That's like, those decisions are up there with like naming the sequel to the Xbox 360 the Xbox One. It's just kind of like, so why are you doing this to people? Why are you just making things intentionally hard?
Yeah, that's a perfect like analogy. Yeah, no, it's I don't understand either, man. It blows my mind. But that isn't what it is. We can kind of move over real quick to the Suicide Squad. I do think this game will be probably a better game, just because people who made Arkham City made this game versus Arkham Origins. I mean, I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be fun and playful, but I'm not just like over the moon because I don't really have a huge connection to these characters, but maybe by the end of it, I will. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I texted you guys when I watched the trailer. Like, it looks fun, but it feels tonally like a straight, not rip. I mean, somewhere between a rip off and an homage of the James Gunn recent film. And maybe that's just like, maybe he's like really tonally accurate to the comics and they're just both drawing from that. But it definitely, like, just the way that the trailer was cut with the voiceover and just like everything just felt very like almost in similar ways to, like, I guess in like Avengers, like playing Avengers game. It's like these characters aren't our MCU Avengers, but they're also sometimes doing some pretty close impressions of them. You know what I mean? Like the Tony Stark of the Avengers game is very cocky and smart-marthy, like the MCU one. And even like the Thor is like, he's very proper, but he's also kind of like ironic or funny with it too, or like thinks highly of himself. He's got kind of an ego or whatever.
Right.
And so I think I was a little bit surprised, I guess, at that, but like at the same time, I really enjoyed that movie, and I think I enjoyed it a little more than you, maybe. And I think
Maybe.
that's fine with me. I guess like I'm into that, and like I do like the premise of like whatever like the Justice League have been. I don't remember the story specifics. I've been corrupted in some way, or like in some way, whatever they're doing. But like, yeah, I mean, I think that could be fun. Like trying to
Yeah.
take down. I'm guessing Superman's the big bad. You would have
Well,
to be.
It looks like Brainiac is the big bad.
Well, but like,
Um,
surely you're gonna fight Superman as like one of the final boss type things.
Sure,
I would think.
of course, yeah. And it seems like Wonder Woman is actually good. Like has not been
Yeah.
controlled by Brainiac.
Well, she
It's
has
weird that we
has the
have.
whip of truth, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And here's what's interesting. I'm pretty sure the Suicide Squad is a direct continuation of Arkham Knight. And that's why there's no Batman inside the trailer. At least no Batman really shown yet. So we have the Flash, which kind of looks like an Injustice kind of Zack Snyder Flash.
Yeah.
His costume, which I've never been a huge fan of. So we have that Flash. We have John Stewart Green Lantern. It looks like we have Wonder Woman, who's a good person, and then Superman. So I kind of wonder what other bad guys they're going to reveal to us.
I mean, that's a
wonder
lot.
what kind of
If
game
there's
it's gonna
also
be.
Brainiac at the end, I mean, like if you have each of those
Yeah.
bosses over like a major area of the map or in some way like that, I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's a full game. If
No,
you know,
it totally is. There is some other staples, kind of like Martian Manhunter and now Cyborg and some Batman or something that are kind of missing, and they typically almost are
Yeah.
always there. There's 7 of them typically, 6 to 7 of them. But you're right, that is a full game already, and we may get those in sequels or other things
DLCs.
like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it looks fun, and I think what's weird is like we have Deadshot from the first movie, and then Bloodshot or Bloodsport is in the James Gunn sequel, but then you have Captain Boomerang and Harley Quinn, who is primarily in the first movie, but both in the second, and then you have King Shark from the second. So it's like this amalgamation of both, and it does seem like I think what James Gunn has nailed is the kind of, we're bad guys and we're kind of douchebags and that kind of stuff. Tone, yeah, and that's a lot like the comics. The thing that James Gunn kind of adds to it is the trauma, gore, and the dick jokes, basically. So that's what that's what he kind of adds to the style of it. And not just all, but that's kind of what his signature thing is for that. But let's kind of talk about that. So let's talk about Peacemaker on HBO Max. It comes out in January, so pretty soon.
Indeed. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of shows to watch like between December and January.
I know.
The Witcher with Boba Fett with this. I mean, it's just like, and even like you look at like February, this is just a small aside, like with games, there's like 6 or 7 like AAA quality games coming out in like February of 2022, right? Like at least at this moment, none have been a day late. Like Elden Ring got delayed into February. Just I think the day before yesterday or something like that. But yeah, no, the Peacemaker show, I think I was a bit surprised how much of an ensemble it is. Like and how little like Peacemaker's definitely, the main character, a core character, but like it definitely felt like the other characters of the team were almost, on equal footing with him at some points. Which is a little surprising, I guess, to me, just because I thought, I assumed it would kind of just be like a Peacemaker focused on his character kind of show. But yeah, I mean, I'm into it. Honestly, this trailer maybe slightly, I don't know, it just didn't like wow me in terms of like, I guess coming from the James Gunn movie, the kind of character Peacemaker was. I guess, he's got to grow. He can't like stay the same kind of douchebag. And be an interesting character. So I get that. It almost felt a little more like to the quality of like Doom Patrol, which makes sense. But I guess I was expecting maybe a higher quality coming to this just because it's direct offshoot from a movie and it's John Cena, who seems like a bigger name than I guess the people that are in Doom Patrol. I mean, I know Brendan Fraser, but like he's kind of in a renaissance right now. We're in a Brendan Fraser renaissance, or like kind of the early stages. He's going to be in that Martin Scorsese movie coming out and stuff like that. Like Brendan Fraser's on the rise again, which is my favorite thing. Mark my words, next 5 years we're getting a Mummy reboot with Brendan Fraser.
I would cream my pants.
I probably it's gonna happen because there is the first Mummy and the second Mummy were both good. I liked them, especially the first one. Fantastic adventure films. Oh my god, it's such a scary thing. Like as a kid, like freaked me. The beetles that crawled under your skin. Woo,
yes,
they freaked me the fuck out in the best way.
We just showed Noah earlier this year. We watched The Mummy 1 and 2. I actually own The Mummy 3 because I bought the box set this year, but I have not seen it since the theaters. I watched it that one time.
I know I've seen it, but I think I've seen it on TV. There's a while that like the Mummies would like play out like on TBS and TNT. Sure. I feel like all the time. I used to rewatch them all the time. No, it was. I remember that being true. But yeah, man, because Brendan Fraser isn't even in the third one, is he?
No, he is. But Rachel, I think it's Rachel Wise. I could be wrong on the name, but it's his wife is a different actress, and she's totally different. His son has grown up, but his son, I think, is, I think he's got an accent in it, which is fine because his mom does. But it's not good, man. Yeah. And then you got Jet Li as the Mummy, which is not the worst thing, but it's just like also not the greatest thing. So
yeah,
not good.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see on Peacemaker. I've been watching Doom Patrol and I've been liking Doom Patrol.
Really?
I think it is a little bit like sometimes it feels like I'm watching a music video, if that makes sense, with like how music heavy it is and like how like you'll have these like sequences where like nothing's happening and we're just kind of listening, which to pretty vibey like music. I like the music, so that helps. But like you'll just be like going for different locations. The characters are not saying anything, but we're just like, and they're very like very well composed shots. Like the production design's really cool. I feel like they are able to do really cool ideas on what you can tell is like a slightly limited budget. You know what I mean? In terms of just like production value and like CGI and stuff, but like the way they like, I don't know, portray the inside of the mind of like what's her name? The girl with all the personalities. I'm blanking on her name right now. Like when Cliff goes inside, the way they portray it, it's just like it's like they're using like different locations and like obviously like outdoor like stuff that's like pretty reasonably to get a hold of and stuff to like tell these interesting stories. But it also sometimes feel like these could be like 30-minute episodes if you like cut out the chunks of like just musical interludes or like if you just like cut things a little quicker, like you could get the same amount done narratively in a tighter format. But I do like it. I mean, I think the characters are great. I think Cyborg is maybe like my least favorite almost just because he's a little bit corny.
He looks like a Walmart cosplay, like a Walmart costume.
Yeah. No, when I first, I'll be honest, I started the show and I was like, okay, like I like this Brendan Fraser robot. Like this is like it's like really dark storytelling and stuff like this. And then like Cyber came on screen, and I was like, I don't know about this. And I remember like I stopped for a while and I came back to him and I was like, okay, I'll keep trying it. But like, yeah, when he first came on, like, and like just his whole look, it definitely looked plastic, and often still does. And it's like, and he just is kind of like he's like the leader in like this way of like the team captain or whatever, and like trying to plan stuff and coordinate things. And it's just sometimes he's a bit corny, but at the same time he's not horrible. I've seen worse on screen superhero adaptations.
Yeah, that's valid. I didn't really pay attention too much to this Doom Patrol. I think season 3 or 4.
I haven't either. Yeah,
HBO Max, but I did start the show multiple times now, and I do enjoy it. I just keep not watching it or following through with it for whatever reason.
Okay,
but
I'm on like episode 9, I think. So
you're much farther than I am.
Yeah,
but Peacemaker, I'm here for it. Like John Cena, of course, it has that James Gunn kind of, like James Gunn kind of flair and stuff. And
he's producing it, right?
He wrote all 8 episodes and he directed 5 of the 8.
but that's the only thing. He's not like showrunner or anything.
I mean, yeah, he's showrunner.
Yeah, effectively, which at that point you'd think.
I mean, if you write and direct 5 of the 8, you're probably. I mean, he is also producing,
man,
yes. But
James Gunn loves ensembles, man. Like, I don't know if he can make a movie that doesn't have like 4 or 5 main characters.
yeah,
A
even
superhero film, at
Slither
least.
has like multiple characters you're following. Super has like 2 or 3, but yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he definitely he's good at that too, though. He's good at balancing.
He may be the best.
ensemble.
Like who else can do has had this many kind of successful ensemble films? Like where it's like a, I don't know, like
Let's say the Russo brothers.
fair.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Hashtag Infinity War.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I'm here for it, of course. Before they even showed me a frame, I'm hoping that I would think it'd be cool if Peacemaker is in Suicide Squad 2 or 3, whatever it's called. So
has James Gunn signed on to do another one?
He not officially, no, but we
know the next Guardians is his last.
That's what he says. Yes, they're supposed to be shooting relatively soon, which we got Adam Warlock casting, by the way, since we last.
And
talked.
I like that casting.
I do too. I
think he's a good actor, and I'm excited to see him in that role. I think he'll be good.
He is a good actor, and I think he'll do really well. Yeah, we don't know yet, and it's weird because HBO Max, that happened in the day in, day out, and then also the pandemic happened. Like there was a small break there with like success and no success, or success, no success, and now we're doing pretty well again in the theaters, and it kind of hit there in the middle, and it didn't do too hot comparatively to like the first Suicide Squad movie, which did almost, I think, $800 million, which is crazy.
Yeah,
I think it made like 150 maybe total.
Critically, it did much better.
Oh, it did amazingly better. So I think
I would assume it does well, like in streaming and rental and on demand and stuff.
It was a big budget movie. It was like $250 million movie, or 250, and I think that they know that, and they released in a weird time, and I think that if they can get the timing right and the world get back to more normal, then I think they would have a hit on their hands.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine like in a non-COVID world that being like a May movie, like early summer blockbuster, and that just doing really, really, really well.
Yeah. Oh, I think the movie would have done at least $500 to $800 million if we were not in a pandemic.
I watched it twice. Like within a pretty short.
Times, yeah.
And I watched it. Catherine watched it with me once, and she really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like, and that is typically not. I mean, she likes superhero movies, but this is definitely like a degree darker and grittier, I guess.
It's a very fun and entertaining movie.
It is. It's very watchable, like even rewatchable. I feel like, because you zoom by, like the time for me always kind of flew by. Like it seems shorter than it is just because of how quickly things roll into one another. And it kind of feels like, especially once we get into current time, once we've done most of our flashing back, it's just kind of on a roller coaster.
Yeah. I do think I've seen it the most out of everything this year. Like I've rewatched it the most. It's in my top 5. I know that. I just don't know where it's at in my top 5 so far. We still got a few more bangers that come out. But
one in particular.
Yep.
One that might be one. It could be 1, 2, and 3 together. You know what I mean? Because
maybe for each individual character.
Exactly.
But you're right. So we'll see what happens there. But let's get into some of the last 2 big movies here, and it's kind of start to wrap up. So we have The Flash, and I will say this: hearing Michael Keaton's voice, I immediately I grabbed Katie. I was like, "It's happening!" And then you hear his voice, you see Wayne Manor, you see the back of his cowl, and all that kind of stuff is fantastic. And of course, you see the new Flash suit, which I think from the neck down looks pretty amazing. And in some shots, the helmet looks okay, but like when he's closer to the camera, his helmet looks like Cyborg's helmet in Doom Patrol a little bit. And it don't look that
Kmart helmet looking
A little,
plastic.
a little weird.
Yeah.
It's a little too bulky, almost like Avengers 1 Captain America kind of thing.
Yes,
And
yes.
you have Ezra Miller pulling off the Batmobile. And what's interesting about this is that it feels more like the Flash is not important in this movie. What's important is the Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman, and the hint of Ben Affleck's Batman.
And there is two Flashes though. I'm sure you noticed that in the trailer.
Yes. Yeah.
One with a bat suit on, but with like a Flash symbol where the bat symbol, I guess, normally is.
Yeah.
Which
and
is
the other
interesting.
One, we did see Sasha, I can't think of her last name, but Supergirl. She's on the right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
And yeah.
But no, I agree. Like, I mean, even just how the trailer was formatted and what is being teased is all about Michael Keaton. It's all about Batman. You know what I mean? It's like, Barry's just a means to an end for this film. Barry's just the vehicle to get us to Michael Keaton.
Yes.
And then that's the movie, Michael Keaton. And
as I tell Katie, when I eat chips and salsa, the chips are merely a delivery mechanism to get
Barry's
to the salsa.
Chip. Barry's a chip.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean?
Too.
Like if
Totally
that's
fine.
the reality, I'm like, cool. That's mostly what I'm here for anyway. So I mean, I kind of doubt like the film is actually. There's probably a lot more Barry than the trailer seems to lead onto, but
I think Barry's in every scene of the movie.
Yeah, exactly, or
that kind of
version of him, and hopefully he's good in it. You know, I actually liked Barry a lot in the Snyder Cut. I thought he was one of the characters that I thought really improved, really fleshed out from the added footage. I just thought like he was an actual character and like interesting and his comic relief worked well for me and stuff like that. So, you know, hopefully he can do that for a whole movie. You know, and hopefully that doesn't like get old or anything. But as you know, like I said, as long as like Michael Keaton's there to offset whatever, you know, we're getting from him, I think it'll be a good time. I think at the very least it's going to be a very interesting film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we are getting Supergirl. There was hints from one of the producers liking a comment about Henry Cavill's return as Superman. That's what my comment earlier was about. We're getting Ben Affleck Batman, which looks like in the trailer, the teaser trailer, that he either died in some timeline because his cow's there and there's blood.
Yeah.
Of course, we're getting Michael Keaton, which is the cherry, or the whole cake, really.
Yeah,
it looks like
course.
You know, we knew that through set photos from spoilers at the time, and now it's been confirmed that there was two berries. We kind of suspected that one of the berries might be bad.
To be honest, I hate the long haircut look. It looks dumb.
I fucking hate it too.
It looks so bad. It's like some weird fucked up version of like the 90s part.
Yeah, even his normal short haircut looks like a toddler cut it. You know,
it looks. Yeah.
It's just I cannot imagine sitting there with Zack Snyder and him going, this guy for the Flash. You know, like I want to be like, what, you know, what were you drinking that night? You know, but I just
exactly.
It's hard for me to comprehend, but this is the world we live in at the moment. And again, I think the suit looks pretty cool, especially that shot where he's like in the cave and you get the wider shot. That's a nice looking suit. But it really feels like they're teaming him up with some of these other characters to kind of really
take some of the burden.
Him. Yeah. Which makes you wonder, like, I guess they decided, hey, we're going to stick with this Flash. I mean, if they're so nonchalant about changing so much shit up and so many different Batmans, why didn't they just recast him? Like, and maybe they see something we don't. I don't know.
Maybe by the end of the movie they will have. I don't know.
God damn, I'd love that.
But you know, also this movie does feel more like. I mean, it's a team up movie. It's not Justice League, but it's Flashpoint and it's Flash, but it's also, you know, it's an Avenger style kind of. It's a ensemble. You know what I mean? So I do understand like them having, you know, like Supergirl, and I mean, I don't know what to think about Flash #2 yet. Maybe he'll be great, maybe he won't. But like you said, all these other characters that are really the meat of the film, and so I mean, I'm kind of expecting like, and it does definitely seem like that there's universe level consequences of like a Justice League type movie in terms of what will be the consequences of whatever the plot of this film is. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm expecting like the plot is going to be a big part of this film. Like what's happening, what are the consequences of what happens, and honestly, I mean, we're going to have a better idea of what the future of the DC slate is after this film, or like where they're going with their films. You know what I'm saying? And so like that is definitely like yes, it is the Batman characters, but like that's the point of this film, is to really what feels like, it's like Doctor Strange, it's like Spider-Man, this upcoming movie. It's going to be taking giant like universe level steps of plot forward. We're not just, this isn't a Flash movie, this isn't a Batman movie. It's a DCEU movie, honestly.
No, you're right. And I think that this movie is going to do a lot of different things, and two of them being like what you just said. One, it's going to connect all the universes, even to the TV shows and all that kind of stuff, which the TV shows have already done in a way. But I don't count it unless it's happening in a movie on the big screen.
Yeah.
And then
Jess, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it, Jess.
Yeah. And also the big thing is this is going to reset the universe. And whether that means Michael Keaton somehow gets absorbed into it, which would be incredible, or what, I doubt, even though I'd like it to happen, I doubt Ezra Miller will be recast. It would be really weird to have him look different at the end of the movie. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's what kills me, though. Is
actually,
I'm in the threads, I'm looking around, talking to people, or at least watching people talk, and not a single person is like has ever been excited about him as casting as Barry Allen. Like no one enjoys it. Nobody.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But also, he is part of the other franchise, Fantastic Beast. So it's maybe one of those things like we don't want to upset him by pulling his Flash role because he's in Fantastic Beast. And
see, I've never seen any of those movies. I know the first one was pretty good. The second one, I don't think was received as warmly.
It wasn't, but I think I might have liked it better. I don't know.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Maybe.
Really, I have like one main desire for the results of Flashpoint, and that's Batman Beyond. I want a Batman Beyond like splinter of the universe. I mean, that to me is like the ultimate, like what we do with Michael Keaton by the end of the movie is he's Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond universe. Like to me, that's like we've done. Like and then we cast. I mean, I think there's. I think I may have had an idea of who I wanted to be. What's his name in the? I'm blanking.
Terry McGinnis.
Yes, but like I feel like I don't know. I feel like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Well, obviously that feels like a little bit like I don't know. Like
old now.
Oh, man, he looks so fucking young. I don't know. He looks like a baby still. Looks like a freshman in college every time I see a picture of him. But like someone like that coming in, I know he was Robin, and I guess Dark Knight Rises, and so it's like this. He's already technically in the
literally
Batverse. Don't remind me. Don't remind me about that part.
You should use your real name.
You just ruined it again. You ruined the whole movie again.
You should use your real name.
Robin.
Yeah.
You should use your real name, the Boy Wonder. You're right.
Man,
the Boy Wonder.
I would
Robin,
love it.
Terry, whatever his name. Yeah.
I would love it. Well, here's what kills me about this. And this is just more of a byproduct of the universe so far. Is that I love the idea of Batman Beyond. I would love the idea of Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton doing Terry McGinnis, but I want Bruce Wayne Batman to be in a real fucking Justice League movie first. Like I want that movie first.
That's fine. I mean, I feel like Flashpoint is going to set off a series of events that will end up in some sort of Justice League. That will finalize in some sort of Justice League official titled movie, I would assume.
Well, who do you think is going to be our Batman though? Because I
think we're going to still have Batfleck, and I think Battinson will be around. I think Batfleck, and I think Keaton. I think we have a chance of all three of them being in that movie.
Well, this kind of brings my next point, and we'll lead into the final topic here. Do you think that Robert Pattinson will be the Earth 1 Batman? Like Prime, I think they've announced that he's Earth 2 Batman, and it's like, well, who's going to be?
He's not Prime Batman technically.
I guess so. Yeah.
But what does that really mean? I mean, Batfleck I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll get, finally him doing like writing and directing his Batman movie. Maybe if essentially if he has like a successful return in Flashpoint, people really like him or something that we get like kind of the momentum built back up. We already got a little bit, I think, from Snyder Cut because he had an expanded role in that.
Sure, we had
with
a lot
expanded
of
Nightmare stuff. And so
we
I
had a
feel
lot
like,
of want after that movie. I mean, like
yes.
I think release or restore the Snyderverse trended again over the weekend because they keep doing these like stupid.
And I'm not sure that's what needs to happen, but I do think that there's still a good Batfleck movie directed by him, written by him out there. I think that exists in like the ether of possibilities that the universe can, manifest into. And so
I'll say this.
I still think maybe that we get that, and maybe that's still prime Batman. But at the same time, like if especially if the Pattinson movies like smash it, both, I think critically they have a good chance of, but especially financially, then I mean, who knows what does prime mean anyway? It means the ones they're making more movies with or like including in the plots of. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say. Like if I was Ben Affleck, and I could be wrong, and I don't think this is a mean thing to say. It's just more of if I was Ben Affleck, but also Don at the same time.
Ben Affleck Thompson.
If I had seen the Batman trailer, I might be like, fuck, I don't know if I want to try to make a Batman movie because that trailer was pretty awesome.
We're talking about the new one?
Yes.
It was. I'll say I like the first one better, to be honest.
I think the trailer, the cutting and the music and how it all laid out in the first one was probably smoother.
Yes.
But the shots and everything else in the second one.
Well, we just got so much more information in the second one.
Exactly.
The first one they were really early in filming just in general. It was kind of like, oh, here's a trailer with like just what we filmed so far. We have like all this left to film still at that point, right? And so there obviously a lot more has been. Are they wrapped on this film?
They are officially wrapped, yes.
Yeah, so like obviously they have had a lot of acts. They were able to do a lot more. Obviously we got like just the briefest like a shot of the back of the Riddler's head, and that pan into the that was nice, like panning into the coffee cup with the question mark, and it had the coffee cup had a green outline, the plate had that green outline. It was very composed. It was very it felt very Hollywood in some classical ways. But I do think like overall, like just like the pacing and the way the music, and I think the cutting and stuff, the first one, I thought the way they used the line was better. I'm vengeance was just a better moment in the first one, and the way they used that with just it building up. But I feel like this one was more like, hey, here's more of like the movie actually in the trailer. And I thought everything still looks amazing. Like just like that shot of when they're like walking up to the coffee shop that the Riddler's in, and it's got like it's raining and it has that neon blue out. Like it just looks like a painting, you know what I mean? Like it looks pretty incredible. And it just like, it feels in some ways, it's like almost reminds me of Nolan in that kind of like a very stylized particular cinematography that is like going for a look, but at the same time, it is much less like our world. Like Nolan felt like it was like, oh, but this could actually happen in our world. And this feels much more like almost like a comic book inspired world in just terms of like almost like in Seven, like the city in Seven almost felt too like.
It feels too dark.
Exactly. It feels like almost unreal in how the levels of like dark and like just depravity. And this world feels similar like that, but that also feels like true to comic books, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. I think like it looks, I think, amazing in terms of cinematography and all these other things, but it definitely feels like it will not fit into the Justice League prime timeline.
It's not Batfleck's Gotham.
No.
Or
and even those are comic booky in a way, but they also feel like that could actually, it looks like it could happen outside my street, or or at least outside of Chicago,
or like
something.
Exactly, Chicago.
Something.
Right. And this one feels like it feels like a very dark, sinister place, and a very like
Yes.
more like Batman Begins than like than Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises, because
Right.
those honestly felt closer to like Batflex, but got like Chicago. You're just in Chicago or Detroit. But Batman Begins Gotham was like very particular. Like the Narrows especially had this like look and feel to them that felt like unique.
Yeah.
And this has that feeling everywhere for sure. And I think it just feels like the world building in these movies is going to be just like really cool. And like that to me, like I think that kind of stuff is awesome. It just feels like, from production design to, cinematography to, the post and the color correction, it just all feels very woven together in a really interesting, dark, sinister, ways that we haven't seen with Batman, I feel like.
No, I think you're right. I think
At least not on
it just
screen.
looks like, it looks like David Fincher's Batman, and I'm all here for that. It looks like Seven meets kind of like Christopher Nolan meets a classical looking film. And I mean, what's interesting too is this Batman looks like he is just full of anger. Like he is really trying to, like he's on a suicide mission, and he's also just
Yes, he
pissed
feels like a
off.
self-destructive kind of
100%.
nothing to live for kind of thing. Which if he's a pretty young Batman, that makes a lot of sense too. Like he's early in his career. He's pretty early into his vigilantism. But I will say that I don't love the Batmobile so far. Like it just kind of looks like a muscle car, which I get that's kind of what they're going for. But I almost want something more stylized in like a world that feels hyper stylized. Like I feel like we could have some more like bat features to it or something, or make it feel a little more high tech. Like I saw, it has the cool booster thing or whatever, but
What was
it looks
interesting
pretty durable, I guess.
What was interesting was that Matt Reeves did say, I didn't feel like we had a real grounded approach to Batman yet. And I was kind of like,
What?
I feel like
That's
Batman Begins in those movies, they were a little fantastical in a way, but they really felt like they were trying
But
to.
they didn't like his gadgets feel like military grade.
That exactly. That's
You know
my
what I
point.
mean? But it doesn't feel like high. I mean, okay, yes, like the phone sonar, that's probably a little bit beyond like
maybe.
I mean, but it did feel like, even I guess maybe for 2008, it felt a little maybe beyond the current capabilities. It felt futuristic at least a little bit, but beyond that, like I mean, the Tumbler is like a real fucking vehicle they built or whatever. It was probably based off a real tank or something. Like, like everything else is always like, well, we do this for like fucking military stuff, and like it felt real. It felt like this is what a billionaire would actually buy, is stuff that like only the military can usually get.
No, I agree. I mean, it's it was kind of throwing me off, that comment, and this feels like it's so stylized that it doesn't feel like grounded to me.
Yes.
But
which I like. I think we need less grounded Batman stories. I think we've had like the majority of what we've had recently feels like a much more grounded Batman. And I'm kind of ready for these like more stylized, more, interesting takes on the character, which I feel like we're getting with this at this point. Maybe they'll surprise us and it'll be like the most cut and dry Batman story ever. But
yeah, I mean it's weird because he's a very low tech. Like his tech is nowhere near Nolan Batman or Affleck Batman. And but it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation.
Maybe that's just because it's young Batman. I mean, who knows? By the time we're getting our third Pattinson movie, we might be getting a more high tech, version of him. I mean, depends. I guess it depends on how much time takes place kind of between films, or who knows what they're going to be doing with this. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to even imagine like the technology. It feels like the technology can't grow as fast in this universe. You know what I'm saying? Just by nature of how it looks, it feels like I can't imagine. I don't see people walking around with iPhones. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't see that. Kind of thing. But
for like detective nature, I mean, I don't know his like detective capabilities, because if we're going more the detective route with him, I don't know. Well, yeah, who knows? I'm super like there's still a lot to, I guess, that's to be determined, or stuff that we're still speculating a lot based on like fairly little information. What they said they confirmed, is this supposed to be like his year 2 Batman, or like his second year?
Two.
Right. So young Batman all the same. Like, I mean, like basically, like we're still getting very green, very, figuring himself out, figuring out who he wants to be and how he operates. So that I mean, there's a good chance maybe this is the kind of Batman stories we only get with Pattinson. Maybe he's always young Batman, but maybe they'll. I mean, there's definitely room to age him up or to like, move forward in time and kind of tell. And I think that would be interesting too, to like have an actor tell kind of like a more broader stories or broader events in Batman's life, being able to jump around and something like that.
I see a world where they jump like 10 years every movie.
Yeah. Or at
Like,
least
you have
5.
one in
I
the
mean,
middle
like,
of his career and one at the
it
end
would
of
be
his
easy
career.
to age him up to go 5. Like just put some facial or not. Well, I don't think Batman has ever had a beard, has he? Yeah,
Kind of.
kind of would look weird with the cowl for the most.
Yeah, Batfleck's had kind of a 5 o'clock sometimes.
They did, but like I feel like you can't go like Mountain Man beard on a bat with a bat.
No,
It's
that
just
would
gonna
be
look
fucking weird.
fucking weird. Yeah,
You can find Christian Bell's test screen footage where he has
with
a
like the
Mountain Man
goatee.
beard. Well, he's got like a beard, like through
Oh,
coming
really?
coming to the cow.
And he's in the Val Kilmer suit, right?
This is, I think, is for the test screening for Dark Knight Rises when they were doing
Oh, okay,
Catwoman.
okay.
So
Okay.
Bell was like in between movies,
Yeah,
but it's real,
that's
real weird.
ridiculous. That's funny.
Well, Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
Listeners, you can write into bit.ly/241mail. There, let us know what you thought of the DC FanDome trailers and events. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you're just like, about to pee your pants over right now, trying to like yell into your car radio or YouTube screen or something? Let us know. bit.ly/241mail.
And if you can't hit us up at your bit.ly, of course, you can always drop a comment in the comment section below. Again, youtube.com/2for1studios, the best place to consume the content. Hit that subscribe button, that notification bell to stay up to date on all the future things we have coming out. All right, Daniel, I'm glad we talked about this. We got, I think, a spooky episode next coming up, I believe.
Yeah,
we
one
got
you're not
some-
looking forward to if I know.
I just rewatched Sinister last night and I was like, oh, this ain't bad. So maybe I can handle the next movie. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll
see
keep
what
with slight surprise. I don't think we've said it on the pod, but it's going to be. So
I don't think we have.
get ready. It'll be a spooktacular. We got to do our Halloween episode.
It will. Even though we're doing this on the air, I would love it if you could somehow change our opening to like a Halloween inspired opening.
I don't know how. I'm just gonna put the Halloween song underneath this. There's no music. It's only drums and then quotes.
You should have like wolves howling or something, or something.
There you
like
go.
lightning
Yeah.
striking, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that would be funny. Got to do something for it.
I would love it personally.
I would also love it personally.
Okay. Well, anyway, my name is Donovan Thompson.
I am Daniel Wingfield.
And as always, we have spoken.